Hey everybody, Captain B-Nard here with your BHDL3 Week 2 recap and Week 3 preview. So, we're going to go ahead and dive right into this by taking a closer look at our opponent this week. And that, of course, was the Sleepy Laxingtons, coached by Lazy Boy. Now, Lazy Boy is an individual who I had not battled prior to this game. He is also new to the BHDL and new to Draft League in general, although he is a seasoned competitive battler, as I understand it. And so, on the screen right now, you can see his full Draft League roster. He was the coach who had the biggest roster this season. I believe he's actually the only coach who decided to draft all 12 Pokemon possible, which definitely makes for a unique challenge in trying to prep for him. But looking at this roster, I was definitely expecting him to bring the Great Tusk, the Galarian Articuno, and the Entei to this game. Now, after that, it kind of gets a little bit dicey because I think there are a lot of Pokemon on this squad that he could have potentially brought that would have had a pretty decent matchup against me, and those would include the Primarina, the Ogerpon Cornerstone, the Hisuian Gudra, the Smeargle, the Hisuian Electrode, and the Illuminous. So that's obviously a lot to factor in, a lot to try and prepare for. But on the downside to that, I was also not expecting him to bring the Skunk Tank, the Misdrevious, or the Glimmet, simply because Skunk Tank didn't seem like it had a very good matchup into my team, and the Misdrevious and the Glimmet are NFEs. They're kind of underwhelming, underpowered Pokemon, so I wasn't expecting to see him bring any of that. So, having said that, we're going to go ahead and throw it over to the team preview screen and see what actually happened. So here you can see the 6 Pokemon that he brought to the game on the right-hand side, 6 Pokemon I brought on the left, and as you can see, he decided to bring the Ogerpon Cornerstone, the Entei, the Great Tusk, the Primarina, the Smeargle, and the Galarian Articuno. So, no real surprises here. Everything he brought was something that I either thought for sure he would bring or thought that there was a possibility that he would bring. Although, like I said, there were so many Pokemon that I thought were possible brings that it definitely was a bit of a challenge to prep for all of that. But looking at the Pokemon that I brought this week, you can see I decided to bring the Scizor, the Mesprit, the Gudra, the Alolan Ninetales, the Pincurchin, and of course the Sneasler. So, once again, these were just the 6 Pokemon that I thought had the best matchup into his team. So that is why I decided to bring them. But having said that, we're going to keep on rolling and go ahead and take a look at the results of the game. So, for those of you who have already seen the game, you'll already know this, but I assume actually most people watching this, if not all people watching this, probably do already know, have already watched the game. But we did end up winning this game 5-0. It was a really solid game, a really competitive game, but a huge win in our favor, obviously, which is very welcome, obviously, of course. And so since we won, I'll go ahead and name the game MVP here, which was kind of close between 2 different Pokemon, but after thinking about it for quite some time, I decided to go ahead and give that honor this week to Mesprit. So, Mesprit really put in a lot of work in this game for me, for the Philadelphia Pidgeys. I feel like probably half the game was just Mesprit on the field. Once it got on the field, it just wouldn't go away. It was tanking hits behind substitutes, behind Aurora Veils, and just wreaking havoc, just kind of controlling the game. And while Mesprit did get 2 kills, there was another Pokemon, Scizor, that got more kills in the game than it. It got 3, Scizor did actually. However, I felt like Mesprit was the game MVP just due to the fact that it was on the field for probably like half the total game time that we had, as I mentioned. It really stonewalled my opponent's efforts to do pretty much anything to try and break through for the most part. As I mentioned, it did knock two Pokemon out, but it also massively chipped two other Pokemon on my opponent's team, kind of making them very easy to pick off with Scissor in the late game. So I definitely feel like Mesprit put in the work here and deserves to be the game MVP for this one. So it is. And obviously, anytime you see Mesprit making it happen out there, it's obviously a good time. So you don't see that too often, but definitely a cool thing to see. So having said that, we're going to go ahead and take a look at some key takeaways from this game. And so my key takeaways from this game are going to be number one, I thought that this was a good matchup on paper for me. So looking at my opponent's roster top to bottom, looking at my roster top to bottom, well, we both have some pretty solid threats on there. I did feel like my team kind of matched up relatively well against his team, which is obviously, of course, a welcome advantage that I will take. And yeah, that was definitely really positive for me, needless to say. But other key takeaways from this game, I will say, I feel like I prepped well for this game and that I also played well in this game. And so, as far as the prep goes, I would say that really there were two key things or two key Pokemon from the prep side for me, and those were going to be the Pincurchin and, of course, the Mesprit. So, early on in this game, having the Pincurchin set that I had with the Rocky Helmet and offensive yet hazard stacking kind of put me in a pretty good position early in the game with him. So, with the Pincurchin, I was able to kind of dodge the worst case scenario with the Smeargle and kind of avoid Smeargle setting up like all the hazards in the world against me, as Pincurchin having the Rocky Helmet was able to break the focus sash on the Smeargle when it went for an attack, and thus allowed me to get rid of the Smeargle with an attack of my own with the Pincurchin. So that Pincurchin set definitely helped me to get in a pretty decent spot early game. And then, of course, the Mesprit set, I just think that Mesprit, as I said, obviously commanded most of this game from the field and just really kind of stonewalled my opponent. And that was by design because I'll be honest with you guys, when I was looking at the matchup here and I was trying to prep for my opponent's team. Just looking at his team top to bottom, like I said, since he has such a big roster, it was difficult to prep for from that perspective. But at the same time, as I was looking at his roster, something was just telling me, I just had a gut feeling that Mesprit was going to be a key player in this game. I felt like Mesprit had the matchup in this game and that I was going to be depending heavily on Mesprit if I wanted to win this game. And so I put a lot of thought and effort into bringing what I thought was the best set on Mesprit for this game, and having the moves that I did and item that I did, of course. Just felt like it worked out really well for me. But that also kind of feeds to the second point for I feel like I actually played this game pretty well. And so what I mean by that is I just felt like my timing with everything was pretty spot on. Like I decided to sub at the right time, to calm mind at the right time, with the Mesprit to attack at the right time, of course. And it just felt like all the pieces kind of came together around that, which was pretty cool. Um, and then, of course, saving Scissor in the back for the late game so that I could pick off the weakened Pokemon with some bullet punches, obviously. Choice banned, of course, this week. Just ended up working out really well. And yeah, definitely really happy about that. But other key takeaways from this game, I would say, include there were actually no hacks in this game. And when I say no hacks, I don't mean no hacks, period, but I mean no hacks of any consequence whatsoever happened in this game on either side, which is always a big plus. And the last thing I would note is this was a very important game for me for momentum. So obviously it is very early in the season still here in the BHDL3, and so this was a really important game for me to try and build some momentum into the coming weeks here in the tournament. And as I said, to try and hopefully do well this season. And so momentum's a huge thing, and I feel like we got that out of this game. So obviously, very happy about that. But obviously, as I said last time, I definitely have no illusions just yet about anything. I know we are still very early in the season here, and definitely just looking to put my head down and continue to do the work here to hopefully get to where we want to be here in the BHDL3. But having said that, that is going to go ahead and bring us to our next week's game, and that is going to be against the Piercing Poniards, coached by DeBest Not Really. So, this is an individual who we actually are familiar with here this time, first one of the season, and that is because we actually played the Best Not Really in both prior seasons of the BHDL. So, this will actually end up being our third matchup against each other. And so here on the screen, you can see a snapshot of his team this season. And of course, it is very solid. There are a lot of premier high point value threats on there, a lot of offensive power, a lot of defensive stability as well, utility as well. So, yeah, definitely a very solid roster top to bottom here. So definitely should be another solid week, another solid game for us. And as I said, at this point, we're just kind of looking to hopefully just put our heads down and do the work to try to get to where we want to be here in the BHDL3. But definitely looking forward to that game next week. So, but that's it. Thanks for watching again, everyone. Hope you all enjoyed. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, and or subscribe if you did enjoy, and stay tuned for more new videos in the future. So, that's it, and we'll see you next time.